everybody, it is Kendra here. Welcome back. Today I have some more dyeing to do, and this time we're going to be doing some self-striping yarn. So I recently launched my Etsy shop, and I've been adding some self-striping yarn and dyed fiber. And so far for the self-striping yarn, I've only done the 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon blend. Sorry, but I also have some BFL that I plan on making into some self-striping. It's 80-20 BFL nylon as well. And I can tell already, it has a little bit of a different feel than the merino. I've heard a lot of good things about it being a little more hard wearing, which I think makes sense given that like spinning the fiber, it's a little more sturdy and things as well. So I grabbed a cone of each so you could see here. So this orange ended one here is the merino, and this here is the BFL. It's similar. So like with any self-striping, the time-consuming part is getting it wound into the long skeins so that it can be dyed in sections. So I'm gonna spend some time making up a whole bunch of skeins of the BFL, and then I'll kind of be able to dye them when the time comes, and just having them prepped really makes things easier. So that's gonna be my plan for today, is working with this big cone. But my process is simple. I just use my cone and I start off by measuring it with the cardboard because I don't know what it weighs. So I check what the measurement is, and I'm going in grams. And then when I'm winding my yarn onto, let's see if I can get that focused. When I'm winding my yarn into the large skein, I just periodically check it until it is 200 grams less. I've been doing it in 200 grams chunks so that I get like 2 balls of each. And here's my big skein winder. I know I've shown it on here before, but I'm just going to measure it out. I have some little measuring marks on one here where I have my regular size skein, and then I add one more for a longer skein if I want an extra, stripe or 2 repeat. I can adjust from there, but I have my base marked out. So now it's time to just get spinning.
I have no problem with words, but I can't control how they hurt.
So this is the first round. I know it's kind of hard to see what's going on, but basically I've made it the length I want it, and now I'm just going to go zigzag basically all the way over and all the way back on repeat until I get it to the weight I need it to be.
I've had a problem with the heat in my heart. Some people make words hurt.
So there are times that this step really does feel kind of tedious, but honestly I think like for someone like I like knitting and stitching, and there's a sense of having that sort of repetitive methodical task that's not too bad. I really don't mind it all that much. Not to mention, by sitting by the window, have good company with happy kids, and it's not that bad, but it does take time. And I think about that compared to like dyeing just a regular skein of yarn. Like self-striping it just takes a while to get all this wound up, and then you have to unwind it to make it saleable at the end. But I think it's worthwhile. At least for me, I really enjoy knitting with it, and I think it's worth the time investment to make it happen.
Heat in my heart. Some people make words hurt. I'll take you almost all the way till we fall back down. You know that I do. I try to make you stay till your friends come around. So why don't you lay me down?
So now that it's wound and tied off, I'm going to use, this is like my guide string that I'm just going to use to measure how long each section is. I've done different ways of measuring, like taking it off and folding it in half, but for this, I'm just using my little string here and gonna keep it tight. And I just have each section marked so that I can stop and tie it together to mark each stripe. So I came to my first tie here. My stripes are gonna need changed color here. I'm just gonna tie a marker and then keep going to make sure that it is fully divided on the full skein.
Don't you lay me down. But when the lights turn low, I'll kiss it out. You have no problem with love. You just can't put it away and be done. You'd rather run and be safe. The circle of friends helping you.
All right, so I've now ended up with 3 different sections of self-striping yarn, each one having 200 grams. So that equals 6 balls of 100 grams. However, because each color has 4 stripes, that's still 4 separate dyes for each one. So I think this is enough to get me going to start with. I'm just gonna keep them dry until I'm ready to dye them. So I'm gonna start with the first one. I like to loop up each section so that it doesn't get too tangled in the wash, and then soak it like that, and then start the dyeing process. So I've unraveled to the halfway point. So this braid still has 2 colors, and then this unbraided part has 2 colors. And then I'm just going to divide by this section, which I've already marked with my ties. And I just do this sort of a loop on repeat, and then I tie it together just to keep it from getting too tangled in the dye bath.
I'll take you almost all the way till we fall back.
I think this is something those reusable zip ties would work well for, but at this point I'm just using scraps of acrylic yarn that won't take the dye. So these are my 4 stripes. I'm gonna soak it all together though, and then dye them one at a time.
All the way till we fall back down. You know that I do. I try to make you stay till your friends come around. So why don't you? So why don't you lay me down? Tell me how it hurts and I'll kiss it out. Why don't you lay me down? Yeah, when the lights turn gold, I'll kiss it out. So why don't you lay me down? Tell me how it hurts and I'll kiss it out. Why don't you lay me down? When the lights turn gold, I'll kiss it out. When the lights turn gold, I'll kiss it out. When the lights turn gold, I'll kiss it. When the lights turn gold, I'll kiss it out. When the lights turn gold.
So here's the current setup. Right now I have 2 stripes just waiting in the citric acid. The first stripe I dyed has these pink speckles. There are sections that are a little more heavily splotchy, I would say, and sections that have the really small little speckles. This is still warm. It's just cooling here in this little bucket. And then my stripe that's currently in the dye pot is here. So it has that bright magenta mixed with a sort of bluey violet-y color. There's going to be some pops of blue and some purples in there as well. So the progression will be from the because it's a 4-stripe circle, there will be a solid fuchsia, and then going into the speckled fuchsia, and purple, and then the solid purple, bluey, violet color. So that's going to be this 4-stripe repeat.
I have no problem with words, but I can't control how they hurt. I've had a problem with the heat in my heart. Some people make words hurt. take you almost all the way till we fall back down. You know that I do.
So it's actually a few days later now, and both of my colors are dry. So I have the first one on my winder here. I'm going to put it into a ball and I will show you the finished product.
I tried to make you stay till your friends come around. So why don't you lay me down? Tell me how it hurts and I'll kiss it out. Why don't you lay me down? When the lights turn low, I'll kiss it out. You have no problem with love. You just can't put it away and be done. You'd rather run and be safe. The circle of friends helping you look the other way. I'll take you almost all the way till we fall back down. You know that I do. I try to make you stay till your friends come around. So why don't you? So why don't you lay me down? Tell me how it hurts and I'll kiss it out. Why don't you lay me down? Yeah, when the lights turn.
Alrighty, so these are my final colors now that they've been dyed up. You can see, starting with this one right here, the 4-stripe repeat with this pink raspberry sort of color. And then it goes into these orangey tones, which is a mix of the pink and the yellow. Then there's the yellow, and then there's this very faint, almost like a buttercup yellow with a little bit of pink speckling in it. And that's this 4-stripe repeat. And then the second one here has the bright pink, and then one stripe with just the pink speckles, and then the stripe that has both the pink and the purple speckles, and then the tonal purple stripe. Now all of these solid stripes are actually tonal. I really prefer that, just look-wise and knitting with it. So I generally do that all of the tonal colors, or all of the so-called solid ones, the non-speckled colors, are still tonal to give you that variation and just something different in them. So these and others will be up on Etsy. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Said